Hi, I'm Karen Hillen. Welcome to the My HR Partner podcast. We talk about all things HR from recruitment to ending employment. If you'd like support with your HR, check out our website www.myhrp.com.au.
Hi, and welcome to the My HR Partner podcast, where we talk all things HR. And welcome again, Karen Hillen.
Thanks.
Excellent. Now, today, managing performance. Now, probably not something a lot of business owners think that an HR provider helps with, but obviously very, very important. What sort of services do you offer in terms of helping a business with managing employee performance?
Yeah, so I think that there's two sides of managing performance that businesses need to think about, and it's good not to mix the two as well. So there's performance management. I'm managing a staff member whose performance isn't up to standard or their behaviour is not what's expected. That is a performance management process where you're addressing the poor performance or the bad behaviour, and it can start off as an informal process. Sometimes, depending on what it is, businesses want to go straight to formal, where you've got specific things that you need to address. So it could be the person's coming in late all the time, or they're not meeting their targets in relation to the work that they need to get done, or they've been a great employee in the past, but all of a sudden their performance just isn't up to standard. So that type of performance management is quite specific in relation to making sure that you've got some policies and processes in place so people know what to expect if they are told to come in and attend a meeting about their performance. And it is about ideally getting that person to improve. So it's expensive to recruit people. You've probably already invested a lot of time and money into this employee in your business. So the ultimate goal with performance management in this sense is to get them to improve. So they either become a great employee or they go back to being a great employee.
Sure. Look, that's a really interesting point you make there, because I think as soon as someone hears we're going down the performance management line in respect of what we're talking about there, it's the mindset is that you're sort of almost looking at this employee exiting. However, that's not really the ultimate goal, is it? As you said, it's expensive to recruit. Wouldn't it be much better if you could have a process in place that would get that employee back on track and improving?
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing, quite often people talk about, I want to manage this person out of the business, and that can happen. And sometimes that is the only option. Unfortunately, sometimes people just slacken off or they just check out. They're really poor performers and you know that there's no chance of improving, or they just got a bad attitude and that's never going to change. So sometimes there will be a process of managing out and you know that that's going to be the end result. But I'd like to think that there's always a chance that you can get that person back up to the performance that you need them to be, and save the process of having to go through terminating somebody, which is an awful process, and keeping the person in the business and getting them back up. You might need to give them some support. You might also find out that there's something else going on that you didn't know about that explains their drop in performance or the change in attitude or something like that. So it's really important to make sure that you ask all of those questions along that process as well. Offer support, offer training, offer mentoring, anything you can do to help that person improve. But then, unfortunately, if they don't, it may end in having to terminate their employment. Sure.
And I gather then having a performance management system documented is very important. Where would that usually be found? Is that in an HR policies and procedures manual?
Yeah, it certainly is. And it is good to have something documented. So it's easy for you to follow. It's always good. You can pick up the phone or book in a call with me and we can talk through the process. But if you already have those processes in your policies, then you'll just go to your policies, you'll have a refresh of what's in there, and you'll know what the process is that you have to follow.
What would you do if you didn't have that documented and you found yourself needing to do performance management of an employee, but you didn't have a roadmap and a guideline?
Yeah, get some advice. Definitely get some advice so you know you're on the right track. Having those policies and processes and the framework to know what to do is always going to be the best way, but it shouldn't stop you from starting that process. I've spoken to people where they say, I don't have any policies in place and I need to manage this person. You can still start the process. It's just a matter of making sure that you're explaining clearly what's expected, and you document things like putting a performance improvement plan in place. So you meet with the person regularly after that first meeting to monitor their progress, see how they're going, offer support, offer training, do whatever you need to do to see if they can get back up to where they need to be. It can be a little bit trickier if it is related to bad behaviour or, unsatisfactory.
Well, how closely is this aligned to a disciplinary process?
It can get to a disciplinary process, let's be honest.
Which
a lot of the time
you're going to
does.
need documented, aren't you?
Yes, definitely. So, yeah, look, quite often it will become a disciplinary process. There will be warning letters issued. There will be consequences in relation to that process. Sometimes somebody will get a warning letter and they will be so devastated that they got that they will pick up their performance and be the best employee ever from now on. They've just had a little bit of a blip in what they've been doing. There might be some outside influences that are happening that have just influenced their performance at work, and that might just be the pickup they need. So it can be either, you hope it doesn't get to disciplinary, but it does a lot of the time.
Look, the more and more I talk with you, Karen, it just becomes so clear how important all of the documentation is, but especially this HR procedures and policies handbook. It really is the Bible for a business when it comes to employees, isn't it? And having everything there just makes anything that crops up so much easier.
It sure does. And I think the thing is too, if you talk about a code of conduct that's in the HR policy handbook, it sets the rules for the business. So your employees know what's right and wrong. They know what they can and can't do. So it shouldn't be a surprise if they do get called into a performance management meeting because they've done something wrong. And it might be about their performance, but it could be that they've done something that is in breach of the code of conduct. So a very, very easy example of that might be they've been smoking in the office. You would hope that people don't do that. Hopefully people know now that's not appropriate. Or they've gone out on a smoke break and they go for 10 smoke breaks a day when your policy says you can only smoke at lunchtime,
sure.
In the designated area or whatever that might be. So it is important to make sure that people do understand what those expectations and rules of the business are. So then if you do have to go down a path of performance management or disciplinary action, that people know that what rules they've broken.
Sure. So look, I can confidently say after talking with you over all of these episodes, if you're a business owner out there and you're listening now and you don't have an HR policy and procedures handbook, you need one. And you can definitely help with that.
Yeah, and look, I think even if you have a couple of employees, it's important to start off with at least a couple of policies that are going to give your team guidance on those types of things. So it's important. It's easier to follow than trying to think, I've got nothing in place, where do I even start?
Sure. So I guess another part of the performance management area of a business would be the appraisal process. Yep. Can you explain a good performance appraisal process and why it's important?
Absolutely. Now, this is what I like to call the good side of performance management, the nice side. We've
done the tough side. Now let's do the good side.
This is the part where you're rewarding employees, and that doesn't have to be monetary reward. It can be little things. You could have a rewarded recognition program in place that's not expensive, but a good appraisal process is going to be different for every business, and it needs to fit in with what you can do and what's going to be able to be done in a busy day of a business owner or a manager. So there's no point putting a really complex performance appraisal in place and say that you're going to formally meet with somebody every month and you're going to go through this big, long performance appraisal form. If you don't do it, it keeps getting put off because you're busy, things happen. Then people start to think, well, my performance and my development's not important to the business because it keeps getting put off. For me, what I like to see is a combination of having a formal process, but having lots of little informal meetings along the way. So ideally, what I like to see is you might have a formal sit-down performance appraisal meeting with a form where both the manager and the employee write down information about what they've done well, what goals they have, and do a bit of a rating if that's the way your form is. There are also some good online HR systems that can do that as well. I think it's good to have that every 6 or 12 months. And in addition to that, I think it's really important to have lots of little more informal meetings with your team. So that could be a 5-minute check-in once a week. It could be, I always remember a business owner told me that the coffee shop was just down the road. So he would just grab somebody different every day and get them to come for a walk with him to go and get the coffees.
What a great idea.
I love that idea because it was informal. I suppose people knew about it because it was something that happened every day, but it was just a chance to get out of the office, have a little 5-minute walk and just have a chat. And I think that was a combination of just social chat, how's your family, what did you do on the weekend, what do you got planned, those types of things, probably just mixed in with a little bit of finding out what they're doing in their work as well. So I loved that idea.
Fantastic.
But I think the thing is too that it's important to not just wait for the once a year or once every 6 months formal sit down with a form, because a lot can happen in 6 months or 12 months. So it's really important to make sure that you're always checking in with your employees. And like I said, that could be 5 minutes a week. It could be a half an hour meeting once a month, just to check in, see if there are any issues. Is there anything they need help with? And also, I suppose, having that culture where even if you don't have that once a week meeting, for instance, and it's once a month, that the employee knows that they can come and talk to you about anything at any time.
For sure.
So you're always checking in with the progress, how they're going. Is there something that they need help with? Did they just see a course that they might want to do, or they need some mentoring on something? So I think there's a lot of informal part of that can be so valuable, as well as having a more formal process where people get to rank themselves and the manager ranks them as well, and they can set a plan for the next 6 or 12 months as well.
Fantastic. Great advice again. And I think probably something a lot of businesses don't think about. You've got so much to worry about as a business owner. Again, a wonderful reason to have you in their corner to be reminding and putting processes in place around these kind of services that can have a big impact on how your business is run and ultimately its performance.
Absolutely. And I think the thing is too, with a business that will spend some time on the performance appraisal side of things, it creates a good culture. People are happy because they know they're valued. They know that their input is listened to. They know they have the opportunity to talk about what they want to do and what plans they might have for the next month, 6 months, 12 months. They can talk about what issues they might be having or where they might need some training or some help in something that they're doing. And they're confident to speak up and ask those questions. They don't feel like they're just sitting, not knowing what to do and not feeling supported. So having that process in place, you've got to make time for it though. You really don't want to have this elaborate process that you just don't have time for, because then you may as well just not have it.
Sure. Look, there's the good and the bad on managing performance, and look, both very important, and again, both good to know exactly where you stand and what you need to be doing to be getting it right. But again, a fountain of knowledge. Where can our listeners get in touch with you, Karen?
So the website is www.myhrp.com.au. You can get on the website, have a look. There are places to book in calls. You can find out about all of our services and also all of the social channels, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and this podcast.
Fantastic. Look, I would highly recommend jumping on, booking a call with Karen. The more we get through this series, the more I find out about just how important HR is, and to have Karen in your corner, give her a call and find out what she can do for your business. But thanks again for coming in.
Thanks. Have a great day.